Okay, guys, so this is me running through the Change Something Up essay structure the same way I did with the baby science essay. So what we're going to do is head over to here, and I'm going to remind you again, the audience I want you guys to be thinking about is an audience outside of our class. So somebody who's never heard of Dr. Hopkins or the Change Something Up experiment. Think in terms of like taking extra steps to explain, and don't use the term Change Something Up experiment. Just talk about why you decided to do this thing in your life rather than because I told you to, right? Okay, so we're looking for around 1,500 to 2,000 words. Okay, so let's just get down to the structure. So the first thing that you want to do in the introduction is give background of your previous experience with the topic and research that contextualizes your experience. So I'm going to show you my paper that I wrote, the meditation on meditation. So here's my introduction. You can see it's about a page, right? So here's what I did. Talked about my brain is a crazy place. It never stops coming up with new things to worry about. Trying to calm it down and keep it quiet is a constant battle for me. I am always on the lookout for new techniques to make the inside of my head a more peaceful place. So what this is doing is justifying why I chose to do meditation, right? I start with my reasoning behind it. So this isn't really historical. Or my background with the topic. It is a little bit. It's more my background with dealing with my brain and the reason why I wanted to do meditation. But here you go. One of the things that makes my head more peaceful is free writing, vacuuming my car, putting strings on my guitar work. I know that many people have turned to meditation as a way to do something similar. So here's where I start to do research and give statistics to contextualize my experience. The number of people who attempt some form of meditation has tripled since 2012. Worldwide, 200 to 500 million, or between 3 to 7% of the world. Only 14% of adults have ever given it a try. So although the number of people is increasing, there aren't many meditators out there. So again, the context is I am one of very few people who are going to try meditation. So the point of including research, statistics in your introduction, which in the assignment sheet is one of the things I asked you to do, include statistics on how many people are doing something similar to what you did for your experiment. So the reason behind that is to help us understand how many other people are doing the thing that you're trying to do. Okay, so then I go and talk about scientific studies that talk about the benefits of meditation. So kind of the reason why I'm doing this is kind of another justification for why I'm doing it. Here's science that shows why it's good to do meditation, and that I'm pretending that was part of what convinced me to do it. Then I talk more about what practicing meditation. Now here is where I get into my background with the topic. I dabbled in meditation before. I had this practice that I did. I'd listened to a podcast that was about this specific kind of meditation. And then what I wanted to do was to just sit down and stop myself from thinking the crazy thoughts. So here's where it pays off that I was talking about my brain being a crazy place is I've sort of been into meditation. But then I have to say, I ended up listening to the podcast way more than I did meditation. Luckily, every semester I have my students change something up about their lives for 21 days. So that's where I talk about. That's the reason why. So I gave historical background. I gave a justification for why I chose the experiment. And I gave statistics for how many people tried to do the same thing that I did. So that's my introduction section. So the method section is supposed to do two things. Give the rules of the experiment and what you hope to gain from it. So here's my methods section. For 21 days then, I would meditate for 20 minutes a day. There's a large variety of techniques and some debate about what counts as meditation. So I left it open to just spending 20 minutes. The goal was to practice Shikantaza Zen as much as I could. Hopefully develop the skill of controlling my brain when I want to. So that's what I hoped to get out of it. And then here's the rule. Meditate for 20 minutes a day. And I had to kind of specify that what counts as meditation was kind of open for debate, but it was just about the 20 minutes. So that's my method section. Now, The results section is supposed to give a few select and important events of the experiment, not a day-to-day chronology. So in my results section, the very first thing that I do, and this is a great way to, good thing to do in your essay, is to start with an overview. Give the first paragraph. The ones that I've seen that are really successful do this, right? So you give an overview of the whole experiment and how successful it was, and then you can go into details. So my 21 days meditation were not very successful overall. I was worried. It's easy to find the time, but then because of this, I almost always failed over the weekends. Then I talked specifically about being able to control my thoughts. If anything, controlling my thoughts got harder. So I kind of, I focused on specific parts of the experience and how it helped me to control my thoughts, because that was my main purpose, right? And so I kind of talked about directly why that didn't work for me. Then I give a couple of specific experiences. There were a few moments where I lost contact with reality. About this thing about chanting, which was kind of a weird experience, but it was kind of cool too. Trying this mantra and this feeling of being filled up with emptiness, which never mind. And then I talked about my relationship with my plants that I developed in my office over the course of meditation. So you can kind of get an idea where it's not like, I'm not just saying day 1, day 2, day 3, and kind of talking about it. I'm giving a general overview about the experiment, why it worked, and how it helped me achieve or not achieve the thing that I hoped that it would help me. And then give some specific narrative experiences, like this thing when the landscaper came by my window to do some work and I had to bend awkwardly down in my chair so he couldn't see me because I was embarrassed because I was just sitting in my office meditating and I didn't want him to see me. So specific instances like that. Okay, then the discussion section. Reflect on what you learned. Evaluate yourself of how well you think you did. Talk about trade-offs. Discuss implications for your life. So, and then also present. This is where you present research about how other people have done it. So, I found a scientific study that called the kind of meditation I wanted to do relaxation response. And it found that it's a very promising behavioral intervention for women suffering from symptoms of changing hormones. Yeah. Oh, and here's an example of in-text citation. Somebody asked for that. I said, in the Arias et al. Meta-analysis of the effectiveness of various meditation techniques. So that's me citing the text, citing the source that I'm using, Arias et al., which if you come down to the citations, you can find Albert J. Arias et al. And then here's the name of the article. And then I quote it and talk about how it didn't work for me because I'm not a woman in menopause. And then I quoted Jamie Aznato from Shape magazine, I quoted her because she talked about how mantras felt weird at first, but then they started to work. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I give her experience and then I compare my experience to hers. Then I found this Reddit user, Applesauce Time is his name. I don't know if it's a credible source. It doesn't sound like it, but he talked about how he could reprogram his mind and improve his remote viewing abilities, which just didn't make any sense to me at all. And so I was like, whatever for that guy. I did not have the same experience. So he had that experience. I didn't. Then I say, in the future, I don't see myself doing capital M meditation again. My plan moving forward is to continue doing free writing because that's the kind of meditation that works the best for me. I bring up the book, The Happiness Project, because she has this other form of meditation. And I found this just in my life, while I was reading Gretchen Rubin books because I think she's cool. And then I talk about how I developed this relationship with my plants. And that's kind of the thing that I want to take forward with it is, smelling my rosemary plant and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then here's where I cited my sources. So I've got one source about the effects of, this is a scientific source about the effects of meditation. This where I learned about meditation the first time. This is a comparison of an experience that this Jamie Aznato had. Gretchen Rubin is just this kind of tidbit of information about how to meditate in another way. Then I have statistics from The Good Body, and then this Applesauce Time is another person that I compared my experience to theirs. So I have 5 sources, but all three of them fit into the three things that I asked you guys to do in the research. Either give statistics about how many people do the things that you do, scientific research on the thing that you're doing, on your topic and how it normally affects people, and then comparing my experience to other people's experiences. So there you go. That's an overview of the outline. Hopefully that helps you to kind of move forward and start drafting. And good luck, and I'll see you guys.